Hi everybody, my name is Mark Everett and welcome back to the Block Factory. Now in this video, what I'd like to do is using the samples category portion of the Block Factory is do a small demo with the audio turned on. I've already provided a couple of screenshots of the sheets involved in the samples drawing, as well as a couple non-audible videos, but I felt like that I could probably make you more connected to the blocks by having the audio turned on so that you can understand a little bit more about the blocks. So I hope that's helpful. And so with that being said, let's just jump right into AutoCAD. Okay, we're now in the samples drawing portion of the Block Factory, and there are several sheets in here that just represent basically faux drawings for a project. And if we go into model space, you'll see how they're laid out, and I have them pretty much laid out as they are in paper space, so that way they're somewhat organized. And this is how I draw, so that when I send these drawings off to clients, they can more easily find all the items that pertain to a set of drawings. So let's go over here to the first drawing, and this is pretty much a standard, I'm gonna call it typical type plastic laminate type job. And so I have a plan, an elevation, and a couple of sections, and then some enlarged details. And these areas, this area of the drawing itself, are pulled through a viewport. And if I go back to model space here, in as 3/4 inch equals a foot scale, and then I further detail and enlarge those sections so that I can more accurately show all the dimensions and notations. These are too small to do that. So if I go into model space here, you'll see that all these wall cabinets are all dynamic, and that allows me, if I have my quick properties open, I can change the height, the width, I can change the shelving heights, and I can change the finish, I can flip the cabinet, I can turn things on and off using the visibility aspect of it. So I can also select on it and individually go through and turn things. This is the visibility that I was talking about. I can show the shelves off, on, turn dimensions on and off in different ways. And I can also manually move shelves up and down on a 32mm system on here. I can turn the apron off. I can also go into this block and I can actually change the pull. The pull is a block within here by going through the visibility and scrolling with my mouse through the different types of pulls that are on here. And this pull, because it's a block, can be edited and added to. So let me exit out of this. The base cabinets are essentially the same. I can flip these. I can again go into that block and change the pull. I can change its location vertically by just typing in a dimension or just placing here and changing the number. I can also go through and again change the pull to whatever pull is associated with that particular block. Let me exit out of here. The sink itself is made up of a faucet, a sink, and a trap. So if I were to open this block up, I have a block for just the faucet in top view, front view, and side view. And you can actually scroll through those different views of that faucet. In this case here, it's assembled as a unit because I want to be able to, if for instance, I want to put this in another elevation in that same project, I want to be able to copy one item, not multiple items. That's why I take care of it that way. I also do the same thing in the plan. That plan view is made up of a plan of a sink and a faucet and a reference point here at the front of the counter. The counter itself, if I open up this block, this counter is a block that I can change the width or the length, the depth. I can also go into the visibility of the elevations. In this case, it's a plan, but in the plan, you can have the option of showing splash on one end in the back. You can show both ends in the back, just the back, or no splash at all. And this one here is pretty well used for plastic laminate or solid surface materials like quartz that happen to be 3/4 of an inch in thickness. And it can be customized because it is a block. This here is a wall cabinet block that can be mirrored, and the depth can be changed, the length can be changed, and also I can select whether I have a filler at the end, filler at two ends, or none at all if it happens to be in a scenario where it doesn't need to be adjacent to a wall or something like that. All right, so and then this particular wall itself is created by using my wall blocks here. So if I scroll up here, these are all the standard walls that I use, and they can be customized to do any wall thickness or even sometimes things that happen or occur in the elevation. All of these items here are customized multi-liters. The dimensions themselves are just pretty standard. I have multiple different dimensions. If I were to select on this, in my quick properties, you can see that I have multiple different dimension styles. So for instance, if this were to be a VIF dimension between two walls, rather than having to type that in, then later have to change that, I can just select on the item and go up here to my quick properties and select VIF. Then later, if it becomes a field dimension, then I can just put FD, and that just designates that it has been checked. So that's that. This elevation dimension here along the side is also a block, so it can be stretched to meet whatever scenario there is in this elevation. And I also have the option of turning the splash off when there is no splash. A lot of these items here are blocks so that I can, rather than having to type them every time and select the leader, I can just go ahead and just take them and drag them off my tool palette. The elevation, what I call an ID marker. There's an ID marker for the elevation, the sections, and the details, and so on. Those are on my tool palette under my symbols 1, and I can just drag them in and then label them. The good thing about these is I can stretch the overall length. I can, with my control key, press down and double click on the text, I can edit the text. And then this here, the scale, is actually set as a visibility, so I can select whatever scale it happens to be in. In this case here, we are 1:1, but the elevation is 1:16. So if I go to 1:16, and I were to take this and pull it off the elevation, it will be to the correct scale. But if I'm doing something like these down here, where these are in large details, then I would go to, and they're set to scale 3 inch equals a foot. So I would go 1:4, and then I could go to my tool palette, go to that particular enlarged detail and bring it in, and it would be right to scale. And then just place it in and change whatever information that I need. These cabinet sections are blocks as well, and I can stretch the depth, I can stretch the height, I can move the shelves up and down on the 32mm system, and then these hinges are actually blocks within here. If this cabinet exceeds, say, 3 foot, and I want to add another hinge, I've added that in here also, so I can increase that. And then lastly, this pull is actually part of, it's a block within this block, just like in the elevations. So if I select on it, I can see all the visibilities that are available, or I can go to my quick properties up here and just scroll through the different types of pulls that are available. I also can change the thickness of the back and the gap, what I call the cleat space here, if necessary, or turn the scribe filler off at the head. And this wall is a block. I can stretch it up above so that when I bring it to a viewport, that end of that wall doesn't show. The blocking inside can be adjusted to correspond to or correlate to the blocking in behind the cabinetry. In this base cabinet, the countertop is a block. It stretches in depth, the splash is in height, and I can also select whatever type of countertop that I want to use in this particular case, whether it's plastic, laminate, stone, solid surface, and so on. The drawers of the base cabinet can be changed in depth. The slide block that I have here to indicate side-mounted slides can be adjusted on 2-inch increments. These dimensions here are a block. It just makes me, allows me to grab one item if I want to copy it to another section, and I can stretch it to whatever depth that is. Then I have all these other custom leaders that help me note the items, the hardware items in a drawing rather than having the notes all over the place. And that also allows me to, if I go back to my paper space, it allows me to change whatever that item is in the hardware schedule quickly, and then I don't have to necessarily go back and renote everything in the drawing. Just very efficient. I also have these note leaders here, which is just a standard multi-leader with my custom arrowhead. This block here is a block that allows me to change whatever finish. So if for whatever reason I have to change it, I can go into one block, make the change, and it updates everywhere. This base block is a block that allows me to have the vinyl base or the plastic laminate base, and I can double click on this and change the finish for that. And you notice that these sections are pre-dimensioned and pre-noted, so you're probably 95% there, so you're not having to recreate everything every time. It's already done, and you just have to modify the finishes and perhaps select the countertop type that you want to use. In this particular section here, the sink is the sink that's used in the elevation and the plan. I'm just using the visibility of the section in this case. This trap here is on the tool pallet underneath of fixtures right here. These two are the same. These two are the same. They're just different visibilities, one with a flange, in this case for a kitchen, and this one without the flange if it was in a bathroom setting. In this particular elevation here, like the ones that are here, are just the same cabinets with a style and rail look to them. So it gives the appearance of raised panels here. And if I wanted a shaker style look, I could just turn these layers off, erase them, or just put them on a layer that won't print. And then you still have the same cabinet. The cabinet pull, as before, has different visibility, so it allows you to select that. And again, you can change the width, the height, move the shelves, and so on. Then I added some crown molding up here to dress this elevation up a little bit. Now, in the Block Factory, there's a whole section of molding profiles. Some of them, many of them, are dynamic as it's shown here. So if I select on it, I can change the length of it. I can change, let's just stretch this down so I can more visibly see it when I scroll through my visibility parameters here. And you can see all the different profiles that are available. Now, this one has a actual section profile with the graining and everything, and I can flip these both ways. And I can also select on the object, go to my quick properties up here, and just scroll through the different types that are available. So again, I don't have them all that way, but all the ones that I've used, and I can certainly create the ones that you might want to be used in your drawings, but there are many that are like that. And the countertop, as it's shown in the plans, this is the same exact block. It's not a different block for the elevation. So if I go to the visibility, you can see there are 4 different elevation styles: one splash, backsplash, or no splash. And then also the plan and there's a 1 splash, 2 splash, backsplash, or no splash. And then you can stretch the height of it, you can stretch the length of it. You can also change the countertop thickness. So sometimes if you have a 3 centimeter countertop, or even in a case where you have a vanity, you can change the height of the apron to the front of it to be a 7-inch apron or whatever is needed. Okay. I've demonstrated these sections, but I do have a raised panel. I took basically the cabinet section that was here in the previous demonstration here, sample drawing, and I've just basically renamed it. And then if I move this panel here off to the side, let's say 6 inches with my ortho, and you can see that there's a line there. It's kind of my guide, but it's on the depth point layer, so it does not print out. It just allows me to have a nice guide so I can stretch this raised panel block to accommodate that, but everything else about the block is the same as before. Now, because I put crown across the top here, I just moved that door down 1/8 of an inch and then created this block here to cap off the top. So it gave me something to apply the crown to with a little bit of a shoulder, and it separates itself from the door. So if I open this block, the crown is a block, this blocking is a block that allows me to stretch the height and the thickness, and the screw is a block, and that also has there are many different screws in the block factory. This one here is just used for that purpose or for fastening the cabinets to the wall. And believe it or not, this block right here was a block. It actually is not a block now, it's just P-lines, but it is part of the block factory in the millwork details portion. It starts out that way, and then you can just start stretching and building with those millwork blocks. The base here is a separate block. I can change the thickness and the height of that millwork block there. The wall, again, like it is in the elevation, allows you to stretch it. It also allows you to, in this case, move the one piece of blocking. It also has the ability to show no blocking or show 3 pieces of blocking in case there are multiple locations where you need in-wall blocking. Over here in this drawing here, you have a millwork block, which is a horizontal section through a whole cabinet. Now I have many of these on my tool palette here. If I go to my horizontal sections, you'll see all the horizontal sections that I have used all the time. But this one here allows you to stretch the width, stretch the depth, the thickness of the back, and the cleat space. And it has this block, which is the stile or rail, as part of the block. So if you make changes to it, it will update in this particular area. If it changes where it connects to the main field panel, you would have to make that adjustment to the field panel in the main block itself when you edited it. And it also has a hinge in here to indicate what side the door is hinged on. The good thing about these kind of blocks is you can build a horizontal section through a kitchen or reception desk or whatever the case might be very quickly using one item rather than having to build each and every item from scratch every time. And it also gives me the ability to change the overlay on the ends when a cabinet is either finished, in this case flush, or if it is ganged together with other cabinets, then you can adjust that so that the gap is split between the two, or maybe one-sided. Then again, this is just a piece of crown. It's not the same crown as up here, it's much larger, but I wanted to give a visual of the different variations. If I select this, it's all the same block. It's just different visibilities of the same block. The same thing with this pilaster. It's the same block, but these are different visibilities of the same thing. These are just sections, but these have the ability to stretch in height depending on how they're used. So that's pretty much all I can show you in this quick video here of the samples drawing. If you're interested at all in purchasing or you have any questions, just send me an email to theblockfactory.e2d@gmail.com. I hope you liked the video, and I'll see you on the next one.